only a chapter in a book on the 10 Corps operations in Northeast Korea in the fall and winter of 1950. The 10 Corps' part in MacArthur's effort to end the war. But in the records in the National Archives at the Federal Records Center in Suitland, Maryland, I found no operational journals, no unit histories of those who fought east of Chosin. There was a 7th Infantry Division special report on Chosin Reservoir, undated but signed by Major General Claude B. Fehrenbaugh, who had assumed command of the division on January 26, 1951. The report had been prepared by unnamed persons some months after the events related, and was fragmentary and unreliable. There was one other document, a 7th Division action report, which was nearly barren regarding the units east of Chosin. But attached to this report were a few memorandums and affidavits by Army survivors at Chosin who had reached Haguru-ri at the south end of the reservoir, written there a day or two after their escape. The most important of these documents was a 4-page typed report by Major Robert E. Jones, giving a summary of what he knew, addressed to the G3 section, Operations Section, of the 7th Infantry Division, represented at Haguru-ri by Major William R. Lynch, Jr., and a 1-page report by Captain Robert E. Drake, covering his 31st Tank Company. The records of 10 Corps gave the Corps' orders affecting the Chosin Reservoir operations, but no details of what happened. The 1st Marine Division records are complete, or nearly so, but their G3 journal and message files contain only limited information on Army action. 3 published works touched on the Army units at Chosin. Lynn Montross and Nicholas A. Canzona's The Chosin Campaign, Volume 3 in U.S. Marine Operations in Korea 1950 to 1953, 4 volumes, 1962. The Marine Corps' official history of its part in the Korean War covers very well the action of the 1st Marine Divisions at Chosin, but touches only briefly on Army units there. Captain Russell A. Googler, in his Combat Actions in Korea 1954, published by the Association of the U.S. Army, gives a partial account of some aspects of the Army action based on limited interviews with some survivors and examination of available records. Andrew Geer's The New Breed, The Story of the U.S. Marines in Korea, New York, Harper and Row, 1952, contains details based on personal interviews. It became apparent that the information needed to relate the events east of Chosin in any coherent and comprehensible form could come only from survivors, if a substantial number of them could be found, 25 years after the event. One man's recollections must be compared with other men's recall, and use of all preserved contemporary notes would be necessary to find consensus where possible, and to establish a weight of evidence on alleged or questionable facts. From the start, I ruled out the use of hearsay evidence. Gradually, I became engulfed by the mystery of the Chosin Reservoir tragedy. I put aside most other work on the Korean War in which I was engaged. The survivor of Chosin who helped get me started was Colonel Wesley J. Curtis, then S3, Operations Section of Battalions and Regiments, of the 1st Battalion, 32nd Infantry, now retired from the Army. Additional survivors were found, and their numbers increased over passing months. Only 2 of them refused to share their knowledge. I could not have foreseen when I began this work that it would continue for 7 years. That I have been able to write this story is due to the survivors of events east of Chosin whom I finally found and who gave their help gladly. A few of them had made notes in Japanese hospitals while they were recuperating from wounds, recording events and episodes while memory was fresh. In several instances, these notes were compiled into narratives, which must now be considered contemporary documentary sources. Among the personal narratives are those of then Majors Curtis, Crosby P. Miller, and Hugh W. Robbins and Captain Edward P. Stamford. For information on the role of higher headquarters in the action east of Chosin, I had the help of the late Lieutenant General Edward M. Almond, 10 Corps Commander in Northeast Korea in 1950, and Lieutenant Colonel William J. McCaffrey, Almond's trusted Deputy Chief of Staff, now Lieutenant General, USA, retired. The ranks of the officers and men are those they held at the time of action. An effort has been made to give the full name and rank of each the first time used.